Share a message. And today my message is about the blood. As you read in the scripture this morning, you know that blood is an interesting thing that God created. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you so much. We ask that you send your Holy Spirit down to reign on each one of us. Amen. Give us what you have brought us here for today, a blessing from on high. Hide me behind the cross. This is my prayer in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. So, as you know now, I'm a pastor's daughter. And, I'm a PK. I admit it. I own up to it. Amen. My father pastored a church in Greenville, Mississippi. Anybody heard of Greenville, Mississippi? Yes. Okay. So a few people. There was no mall. There was no Starbucks. There was no major stores in Greenville, Mississippi. The nearest shopping center, I think, was in Jackson, Mississippi, which is the capital of Mississippi. It was like 2 hours away. And my mother traveled as a nurse. So she would go to Mississippi, Jackson, every so often just to shop and buy clothes and that kind of thing. Well, I went to a little school in Lumberton, Mississippi called Bass Academy. It's a boarding school, 7-day boarding school. And, I was born to just kind of figure out, when I was born, my mother said to me, you just kind of figure out what your life is going to be like. So I made a decision to go to Bass. My parents let me make the decision. I went to look at Pine Forge, and Pine Forge is a beautiful organization, but they have snow. So at the time, Mr. Gill was the principal, and so my father took me up there in my 8th grade and said, let's look at Pine Forest. And I said, Daddy, they have snow. And I wouldn't even get out of the car. And Mr. Gill tried to coax me out of the car. And I told him, and I said, that other school is near a beach. I think that's where I want to go. So, and it was only 2 hours from my parents' home at the time. But my dad was pastoring in Mobile, Alabama. So I went to Bass. And Bass is set up where you work part of the day, and then you go to school part of the day. So my first year there, I thought, okay, well, I'm a big girl, I'm grown, I'm going to go get me a job. So I decided I was going to follow my mother's footsteps and be a nurse. How many nurses in the house? You not a nurse? Me neither. So I decided, because my mom was a nurse, and I grew up in a hospital. I got dropped off to a hospital. I heard my mother talk to a million people, church members called, they sick, whatever. And so I was conditioned to believe that nursing was my calling. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to follow my mother's footsteps and be a nurse. So I signed up to be a certified nursing assistant. And you just take an exam and they take you to this training. I had passed my test. My daddy was so proud. And then my mother said, now Paula, let me forewarn you. This job may break you if you're not tough enough for it. So I said, honey, I got this. This is what I was born to do. I've been watching you be a nurse for years. This is what I'm going to do. Now, for the most part, people know me. They think I'm a little heartless. I'm not the tearjerker. I don't cry at movies. My husband does, but I don't. But I enjoyed my job. So I love the old people. It was a nursing home. And nursing homes always have family, people who come and families who come and visit them. So I had a ball. I was enjoying my time there. And, I just knew I was going to follow my mother's footsteps. And then I recall her saying that, there's some sick people in nursing homes. I said, oh, yeah, I remember that part. But I was feeding them and taking them back and forth to the activity room. And, hey, I thought that was nursing. Well, yeah. So, a couple weeks later, I came on my day off to visit one of my favorite patients. And I used to call him Popeye. He would say, I'm Popeye, saying to her man, he'd go, woo, woo. And he was an old white gentleman. He was hilarious. And so, I got attached to him. And as you do, you get attached to your patient. They tell you not to do it, but sometimes you just do. And so I had gotten attached to him. And then one day, so I came and I walked into his room and I saw a bunch of people running in and out of his room. And I thought, okay, well, what's going on? So I kind of creeped in. And he had apparently gone into cardiac arrest. And so they were working on him. And I could see blood coming out of his face. So I stood at the door with my eyes. Now, y'all see how big my eyes are. My eyes got really big. And so I saw the blood and I thought, So the nurse told me, Paula, get out. Get out of here. So I left and I sat in the hallway for about 2 hours. And so they came out and then he came out on a gurney. And the nurse told me to go sit someplace else because she didn't want me to see him come out, see them bringing him out. And so he passed away. I was devastated. I went home, went back to my dorm. I cried for 2 days. And after the second day, I finally called my mother and said, my patient died. I can't believe it. And my mother was like, honey, that's what they go there for. And I was like, what? And she's like, nursing homes keep people until they die. That's what they set up for. And of course, it never dawned on me that, that's what it was set up for. It just didn't occur to me. So she said, honey, I think you need to quit that job. I was like, no. She's like, I don't think you're cut out to be a nurse. You can't even take the sight of blood. And I thought, But I cried again for 3 more days. And as usual, my mother was right. I didn't like the sight of blood. And I certainly didn't like losing a patient. So needless to say, that was the end of my medical career. But, I never even considered what the blood would do to me. When I actually talked about it and thought about it in the training, it's one thing. But when you have to execute that training, it becomes a whole other level. And I didn't think about what would happen if I actually had an emergency with a patient. And what would happen if they actually lost a patient. So when I lost a patient, I literally lost it. And that was just a devastation for me. And God said to me, yeah, this may not be for you, Paula. You might need to think about something else. But over the years, I've developed my own purpose. And it's, I hate to tell my mother she was right. But she knew I was right. She knew I wouldn't cut out for it. And when we talk about what it meant to me to change the course, she said, the Bible talks specifically about the blood. And I think you need to examine what it means to have blood. Blood is considered a life source. The Bible says the children of Israel used the blood to escape the death angel. The pouring of animal blood is the sacrifice of God's provision under the old covenant. Blood is considered our life source. Without blood, we can't live. Your body would drain of blood, then you can tell your body will start to get tired and more tired. Which brings me to the story that you read this morning. The woman with the issue of blood. So let me talk a little bit about the background, because many people skip the book of Leviticus. Leviticus is one of those books that is very difficult to read. There's a lot of do's and don'ts, and sometimes as Christians, we want to overlook that part. We just want to go to the resurrection and the salvation. But there's a very strict rules and guidelines that those children of Israel and the Jewish people kept during that time. Leviticus 15, let's go to that text. Leviticus 15, let's start with 19. It says, when a woman was regular flow of blood, the impurity of her monthly period will last 7 days, and anyone who touches her is unclean till evening. That's 7 days. Verse 25 says, when a woman has a discharge of blood for many days at any other time of the month, or discharge continues beyond her period, then she's unclean as long as she's discharging during that period. That's more than 7 days. Verse 27 says, anyone who touches them will be unclean. They must wash their clothes, bathe in water, and they will be unclean until evening. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a lot to go through for someone who's dealing with someone who's unclean. So imagine the women during this time doing all of this. This is a normal thing for just 7 days. It made me tired kind of thinking about it. It's like 7 days, mercy. But I want you to understand that one of the most amazing miracles that Jesus performed was with this woman. Now, Mark tells it differently. He says a large crowd followed and pressed around. And a woman was there who was subject for bleeding. And she was bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors. She spent money trying to get healed. They didn't heal her. When she heard that Jesus was coming, she said, I have to know him. I have to see him. Because she thought if she just touched him, she could be healed. So immediately, I thought, well, she already got a plan. She's going to plot out Jesus and jump on him and say, here, heal me. Well, let's read the story from right there. Now, let's think about this for 12 years. Now, folks, 12 years is a long time. If you imagine, as women, let me just tell y'all, I'm a teacher. So I calculated how many days that is. That's 4,383 days on your cycle. Mercy. Let me say that one more time for the cheap seats in the back. 4,383 days. That's 144 months. Now, many of you, we can't take a headache. We run to that aspirin before we can get a headache for 2 hours. We're talking 12 years. Many of us have family members who have suffered from cancer, other illnesses, but for 12 years. Come on now. The toll that it must have taken on her body and the family that she was a part of. 12 years. What do you think could be wrong with this woman? Well, the issue starts with, in my mind, they said to her, you're unclean. So that means you don't touch her. You don't go to her house for dinner on Sabbath. Wow. She don't come to prayer meeting. Come on. You're talking about 12 years. Now, I'll be honest. I had PMS. Y'all know what PMS is? I no longer had it, but I had it. But 12 years unclean. 12 years. 12 years of misery. And does that mean anything to anybody other than me? 12 years of a social outcast. Because that's what she was. The children of Israel from their cleanliness, they say they would have died unless they were uncleanliness. What we know about her, first of all, is this bleeding condition, although it took a long time, she still believed she could be healed. She never lost her faith that she could be healed. And according to the religious law back in that time, it said anyone who touched her was unclean as well. So that means more likely her, if she was married, and I'm going to say she was. You're talking about 12 years of not having the touch of your husband, not being able to touch your children, not being able to rock your children to sleep. That's 12 years. The fact that she was in a crowd and she was hovering her head to clothe her head to come away from people told me that people probably talked about it. Sister so-and-so got that disease. You might not want to go to her house for dinner. You might not want to eat that cake even though she sent it over here. All the emotional baggage that she had to take over for 12 years. No hugs, no kisses, no intimacy of any type. She couldn't prepare her family's food. She couldn't even do housework. She couldn't be a wife, couldn't be a mother. She was isolated for 12 years. So for all intents and purposes, she might as well have been dead. And I'm pretty sure she probably thought, I would rather die than to continue in this manner. But struggling with this, she still had faith, even though she was probably depressed. And I know for me, if I had to be sick for 2 months, 3 months, but 12 years. Now, many of us pray prayer, and every Wednesday I have what I call it's a prayer day. So I take prayer requests. I usually post it on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I usually get prayer requests. And I think last Wednesday I got 110 prayer requests. And I prayed from 7 a to 7 p. That's generally what I pray. And some people tell me their stories. Some people, I don't ask for them. You can say unspoken, and I'm fine with that. I'll pray your name and unspoken request. But one particular lady said to me, I'm suffering with breast cancer. And she's been suffering now for this is the 2nd year, I believe. And she said, I'm really believing that God is not going to answer my prayer. And I said to her, sometimes God is quiet. Sometimes he says no. And sometimes he says yes. And if you're not hearing an answer, then you need to wait. That's the most difficult part for most of us, is waiting on God.
That's right.
When we realize that we have no control over anything. I'm a control freak. Anybody else a control freak? We think we got everything under control. You have nothing under control, Paula. I learned that 10 years ago. You have nothing under control. God holds it all. It's impossible for us to understand, because many of us think, we're taught you should get up, you go about your day. This is what you're supposed to do. You are the master of your destination. Oh, no. Not true. God orders your steps. And as he orders your steps, he gives you revelation on where to go. And if he's not giving you a revelation, then you need to stand still and wait on God. And for 12 years, she stood still. And I think for most people, 12 years, you'd be like, you know what? I'd be like, Joe, I'm going to curse God and die. Because you would have given up hope. That you would think, this is, okay, God, it's year 2. I'm still having a problem. What happened in year 3? And I'm still having this problem. But what happens in year 4 and 5?
Yeah.
And you still have this problem. And then your husband said, you know what? Listen, I got to go find me a wife. You're in year 6.
Wow.
Year 7. Your children are like, Mom, we miss you. Can you come for Christmas? No, I can't come. I'm unclean. Year 8. Year 9. Year 10. You still pray. Anybody gave up at year 10? Year 11. You see, it's going. It's still coming. It's still coming. Year 12. Then you get a glimpse of hope that says, there's a man coming.
Come on.
There's a man coming your way. And during that time, I know, because I know for me, I'd be like, Lord, why me? Why would I be doing this for 12 years? Excuse me. 12 years. Why me? When you think about it, 12 years is a long time for the average person.
That's right.
Now you try to be someone who is a Christian, and you try, you live right. You don't drink, you don't smoke, you eat all the vegetarian meat they give you, and you still end up sick. And you say, Lord, why me? When my parents were in a car accident in 1989, I was at Oakwood, and my father was pastoring in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on the road top. And I remember my parents had called me that it was a Friday evening that their accident was. And earlier in the afternoon, my mother said they were going to go pick up the bulletin at church, and then they were going to come home. And so the church clerk had messed up the president's name. It was Ella Dudley at the time. She had misspelled his name. My mom was a perfectionist, and she was like, well, we can't have the president's name misspelled. So she had to go back to her office at the time and was going to reprint the inside of the bulletin. So that's what they were doing. They were on their way to the hospital when a drunk driver was being chased by a Tuscaloosa County sheriff and ran directly into them head on. My mother was driving, my father was not. So the engine ended up in my mother's lap. And my father reached over apparently and was trying to protect her, so most of the damage to the car came into his chest. So she was sitting here and he was sitting there. And so when we got the call, my mother, sister, and at the time her two sisters all lived in Huntsville. And so they came and got me, and we went to Tuscaloosa to see what was going on. And I remember walking into the hospital, and hearing all of this was going on. And I remember reaching down and praying and saying, Lord, why would you allow this to happen? My father's a pastor. He has dedicated 20 plus years to South Central Conference as a pastor. My mother's a nurse who has never done harm to anybody. We're a serving family. Why would you allow the devil to take them out this way? So, you feel that pity moment. Everybody has that moment. And my grandmother, I remember at the time, was still living, and she walked up and she said, you're going to have to take care of your mom and dad. So I became a parent, and they were the children. And during this process, I said to the Lord, I don't know why you would allow this to happen to our family. And you start to question God. And old people used to say you don't ever question God. I don't think that's true.
That's right.
I believe we can question God. I think God is able to answer if he chooses to. Now, sometimes he may choose not to answer. You got to be okay with that.
That's right.
But there are times when he will say to you, well, you will see in time. Now, as a result of my father's accident, and my cousin, James, his brother, came to stay with us, and he took care of me. At the time, I was 20, and he helped me get my parents situated at home so that I could take care of them. Now, as a result of seeing all the love that my family had received from my church members and from my community, my dad's older brother, Sonny, his wife, became Seventh-day Adventists. They saw the love and the support that our family received, so much so they started to come to church, and they were baptized. 2 other members of that church who were teetering came to God. And I said to my father years later, if it was one person who found Jesus as a result of our tragedy, then it was worth it. My parents are now walking miracles. My mother is a nurse practitioner still. She won't retire. I don't know what my father keeps thinking she is. She ain't. But she has still nurtured thousands of children years later. She has taken care of children years later. My father left ministry, but he still has been active and enjoying his life. That's a testament that God can turn a bad situation into a good situation. It's not our job to question his dealings. He deals with us as we need him to. My family could handle an accident. Somebody else's family may not be able to do that. So your path is different than my path. But we still have a path and a purpose. When this lady heard that Jesus was coming, she had a purpose and she had a path. Now, you all know that she went to, probably went to somebody's house and found out, Jesus is coming to town. And just like when T.D. Jakes comes to town and all these people go running to see him, and I love T.D. Jakes. I think his sermons are tremendous. I just wish he'd be on the saddle. That's what problem I got with him. But I think his messages are strong. But Jesus had a message that was stronger, and his message was of salvation that only he could give. And she got excited for the mere fact that she knew he was coming. She didn't even think about how she was going to maneuver to him. She was just happy that he was coming. After the story talks about how people were bombarding him, and she made her way to Jesus. Her plan was simple.
Yes.
I just got to see him.
Yeah, come on.
just got to touch him. I have to touch him. I have to see him. But when I call her Faith, when Faith hears that Jesus has healed others, she knows. She knows he can heal her. So that plot started about 3-4 months before Jesus showed up. This is where the story gets really good to me. She sees this is an only opportunity to get healed. The only opportunity. She knows this is the only chance that she's got. So she didn't, she wasn't nervous. She wasn't upset. She started to plot. And as the story goes, she talks about methodically making her way through the crowd while nobody else was paying attention. She probably put that shawl over her head and said, you know what, I'm going right for it.
Come on.
Put that shawl on her head.
Yeah.
Went through all those church members while they were talking about whatever they were talking about. She didn't even care. She was on a mission.
That's right. That's right.
And that mission was to touch his clothing.
Yeah. Come on.
And when she gets to him, she sees him talking to Jairus and a crowd of people. And then she touched him. And immediately, she felt a change in her body. Mark 5:30 says, at once, which means immediately. Jesus realized that power,
Come on.
power
Yes.
had gone out from him. Now, the word power, Mark says, is powerful to me because he knew something had happened. She knew and he knew. Nobody else knew. And when he turned around and asked who touched my clothes, remember the disciple said, Father, you see this crowd of people? How in the world are we supposed to know who touched you? But he asked it again. And see, I'm like, Jesus is a classic teacher. And I'm a classic teacher. I never asked a question I don't already know the answer to. He already knew the answer to the question. He knew who had touched him. He asked it as a rhetorical question to give somebody a chance to answer the question. But he knew what had happened. He gave the crowd a chance to tell. And when she confessed, Master, I touched you.
Come on. Come on.
She spoke her truth.
Yeah. That's right.
That was her truth. She confessed it and she told it. And here's the part that gives me chills.
Yeah.
He said, daughter, your faith has healed you.
Yeah. Come on.
Go in peace.
Yeah.
Be freed from your suffering. Now, I can go home after that.
Yeah. Come on.
That's just a mass part of why we believe in the power of healing.
Amen.
Luke and Mark both record this story very similar, but the tingling sensations in her body that only she knew that she had been healed. He describes it.
Come on.
He described it. We come closest to God when we are in our lowest parts.
Come on.
It's easy to hear God when you ain't got nothing. When you've been stripped of your house, your job, your man, your woman, your children that left you. Then you stand there naked and you have nowhere else to go.
Come on.
That's the time to really look in the mirror and say, Lord, why?
Come on.
There are lessons in the pit that we have to learn.
That's right.
Those lessons in that pit are lifelong lessons. The woman in this story could be any of us. It could be you, it could be me. The song says, I have faith. Faith that sees the invincible. That expects the incredible. That receives the impossible. Faith that can conquer anything. Faith that uproots my problems. Faith to know God can solve it. Faith to vision my freedom. I have faith. You see, this woman had the issue of blood, but she wasn't by herself. We all have an issue of blood. but it had driven her to press her way through the crowd to touch him. Something other than her physical condition had driven her and pushed her to the edge. It was her uncleanliness. The blood, she could have lived with that. But the isolation and the spiritual death that she experienced from day to day was ruining her life. And when Jesus stopped and publicly exposing her healing, he gave her what she needed. The woman was healed, but not because Jesus just healed her, but he gave her faith and restored her. She had faith even though she wasn't talking to Jesus, but she just wanted to be just to touch him. She didn't have a conversation with him. She didn't even plan that. She knew that the miracle that she was asking for would be just for that touch. And as he said, "Daughter, your faith has been healed. Go in peace." She went about her day, the rest of her life, knowing she had been healed by Jesus.
Yeah. Come on.
Now notice the church folks stood around and watched.
Right. Come on.
Jesus was waiting
Yeah.
to heal her.
Yeah.
He already knew about her.
Wow.
He knew her pain.
Yeah. Yes, you did. Come on.
2 years ago, I was working out, and I have lost about 65 pounds from what I used to be. And so I had the gastric sleeve surgery in 2015. So I wanted to reboot and recraft my life, and part of it was losing weight. And I had an addiction to food that I needed to get rid of. And so I said to the Lord, "Okay, Lord, I'm going to do the surgery, and we're going to see how this works out." And so I had the surgery against my parents' advice. They were all mad at me. But I needed to reboot, to get the chocolate out of my system, and the chips and the Fritos and the pies and the cake out of my system. Anybody else got a addiction to food? Oh, okay, I'm not the only one. And so one of the byproducts of having gastric bypass is that I had the sleeve surgery. And so one of the things you have to do is you have to take vitamins to replace what you're not eating, because I don't eat but so much. And so when I realized, I was working out and I started feeling faint, and I was like, okay, what in the world is going on? So I drove myself to the doctor and went in, and they said, "Oh, you don't have an iron." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Your iron is very, very low. So we either gonna have to give you some iron, or you're gonna have to take some iron." And I thought, okay, well, what's up with that? So I called my mother, because you know you always call your mama. And I said, "They say I have iron, my iron is low." She said, "Well, do you know why?" I said, "No." So I take vitamins every day, and I thought that was good. So I went to my OBGYN, and she said, "I think you have fibroids." And I thought, no, not me. I eat right. What do you mean? I don't eat like everybody else eats. And so she said, we'll put you, get an ultrasound. Let's see how well you are. So she came, and initially I went to my OBGYN because I thought, I'm almost 50 years old. I should just stop having a period. That's what I'm going to do. So I went to have a procedure to stop having it. And the doctor said to me, "You silly girl. We're going to give you an ultrasound, and we're going to see what we can do for you." She came back and called me a couple weeks later, and she said, that procedure that you signed up for, that's not going to happen. You have fibroids, and they're as big as tennis balls. So slowly, I started to feel worse every day. I started to feel worse. And so my mother said, "Well, you need to take iron." So the doctor said to me, "You need to take 3 iron pills per day." So I was taking 3 iron pills per day. She said, "We're going to have a surgery. We're going to give you a hysterectomy, but we need you to take 3 iron pills a day." I didn't stop bleeding for 3 months. 3 months. Every day. In pain. Can't walk. Can't talk hardly. In pain. So I was taking not only 3 iron pills, but taking drugs to go to work, to be able to teach and stand up most of the day. And then I was taking drugs to lay home, to get home to be rested so that I can go to sleep. So we're talking 6-7 pills a day. For somebody who takes vitamins, that's it. For 3 months. April, May, and then in June I came to Phil's mom's house. I went to New York, and I couldn't hardly walk. They had to help me off the airplane. 3 months. I was walking around New York, 3 months. I went to my event, prayed. I had a book signing in New York, and I prayed to God, please take this pain away so that I can be myself. Because that's what people are coming to see. I had no pain throughout the whole event. Then after the event was over, pain came right back. Got on the plane back to Houston. Toward the end of the month, I told the Lord, I said, listen, I can't do this. I don't even feel like Paula. And you know, you start to bargain with God when you're in pain. Lord, if you heal me, I promise you, I won't ever do this again. I suffered one day. And one day, my husband, I guess I was so much pain that I couldn't even get out of the shower. He had help come in and take me out of the shower. And I was just in tears. I said, Lord, why would you let me do this? Why would you let this happen to me? Now, mind you, the whole time, the whole 3 months that I was bleeding, I released a book, had 2 book signings, traveled across the country to 3 different speaking engagements. And still God said, it's your time. And the week, 2 weeks after I had surgery, a lady called me and said, I want you to speak for our Women's Day. I said, what's your theme? She said, the woman with the issue of blood. We forget to lean on him when we have stress and pain. You have to put things aside and trust God always. He truly has your best interest. We don't recognize his voice because we don't spend time with him. He said his sheep know my voice. I realized that a long time ago, in order for me to dedicate time to God, I needed to set aside specific time in the morning with him. If you don't have a daily connection with God, I invite you to get one today. It's necessary. Everything to God in prayer. I started this because I wanted to, last year, because I wanted to expand my territory. That was my prayer. And so far, God has given me opportunity after opportunity. But that didn't change the time in which I had to go through my own pain. But I went through the pain so that I could come back and tell you the blood works. The blood works. The cross still works. His hands are still pierced, but the blood still works. I'm asking you today, if you have not taken the opportunity to dedicate your life to God, the blood still works. The blood still works. Today I want you to take the time to rededicate. If you haven't done it before, today's a good day to start. Rededicate that time in the morning or in the evening, whichever is best for you. But for me, it's the morning. Take that time to rededicate, not the 5-minute prayers, not the 5-minute devotion. Time. Get up an hour earlier. Ask him. Pour your heart to God because he is waiting. I get woken up every morning when I need to pray at 3:27 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Happens all the time. 3:27 a.m. It's my time because the blood still works.
Amen.
Trade your rags for a robe of righteousness. I'm going to invite you to stand with me right now and let's ask God to confirm that we are accepting His purpose for our lives. And we're going to draw closer to Him as we serve Him. And if you have never given your heart to God, today is the time to do it. We don't have tomorrow. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us. Take the time today to dedicate and say, Lord, I'm going to do what you have purpose for me to do. Father, we thank you for the blood. We love you, Lord. We thank you for the example of the woman with the issue of blood. She gives us hope, Lord. For those of us who have struggled with our health, she gives us faith to believe that our healing is possible. I ask you, Lord, to rain down your Holy Spirit today to every family here today, because we believe the blood still works. This is my prayer in Christ's name. Amen.